Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for choosing our show, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when the story of the UDA killer regime will be told, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, very many people will come out to tell their story. And in the event that people will be called to be witnesses, victims will come out, including those who are working for this regime. Now, within 2 days, that is yesterday and today, we've witnessed burials of very shocking and sad victims that fell because of the cruel hands of the police. And what is shocking is that a chief and a DCI officer have been victims and they are now crying foul because their children were killed by the police. I want us to read this story that is very touching because the lady that was buried yesterday, the one that died in a police cell, that is now the second after Ojuang, was actually the daughter of a chief that is working for this government. How sad and cruel can it be? And those who are working for the UDA government are now realizing that people are not just crying out for nothing. And I want us to read this, ladies and gentlemen. The shocking part of it is that the chief that lost his daughter is being muzzled and is being told not to talk. Let us read together. Muzzled by state. Now this story says, tortured by service. A public servant in Nanyuki is living proof of the damage police brutality inflicts on society. Chief Martin Kariuki Rienye, father to Julia Wangui, the latest victim of deadly police violence while in custody, is now a broken man, gagged from speaking to the media. He is trapped in a cruel dilemma, standing with a grieving public demanding justice, or serving a government whose own officers caused his daughter's death. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read further, but I just want to pause there, and it paints a picture of a very sad state of affairs. A chief whose daughter died in police custody. You know, chiefs are part of the administrative system. They work together with the police. Now, his daughter died under very mysterious circumstances. He's torn between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't know whether to stand, with the police and protect his image, protect his job, because the state does not want him to come out and complain. So it is there he's keeping his job, or he quits the job, risks his job, and come out and tell his story. And I want you to imagine this is a man who is working for the UDA government. What do you think is going on in his mind now? The grandmother to the fallen daughter, or rather the mother to the chief, had this to say. She's saying he cannot serve a government that killed his daughter. I told the deputy county commissioner to fire him if he's too afraid to act. 30,000 Kenya shillings salary a month is not worth my grandchild's blood. I have told him you can't wear a badge with pride when that badge is silent about your child's death. So this chief has got a badge. Ile lazima urespect, ile lazima uheshimu, ile inaonyesha yeye ni mfanyikazi wa serikali. So the grandmother is wondering, how do you wear a badge that is silent and it's like a poignant reminder of the death of your daughter? You can't speak because if you do, you'll be accused of betraying the government. You can't speak because when you do, you will lose your job. And the grandmother is saying 30,000 is not worth it. And if you think it ends there, A DCI officer. You know, the name of the DCI has been tarnished. Now the DCI officer has also fallen victim because he lost a child under the cruel hands of the police. Kindly listen to this.
Meanwhile, the family of James Gashara, a Form 3 student who was shot dead during the Sabasaba protests in Nanyuki, has appealed to government to offset the hospital bill and allowed them bury their kin. A police officer was caught on camera shooting Gashara, who was rushed to hospital but succumbed. The young man was a son to a DCI officer who is currently serving at a police station in Meru County.
The DCI is now requesting the government to take over the burial because of the expenses. I think he was rushed to the hospital, and you know how expensive it is trying to treat bullet wounds. And the DCI officer now saying, please help me do this. It doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to paint for you a picture. A 12-year-old girl who was also shot during Sabasaba, Bridget Jocki, was laid down to rest this morning. Please listen to her mother.
That bullet has shattered my dreams. The doctor you'd have become, the accountant you'd have become, will never be a reality, because you will forever be 12 years old. That bullet has cut short your dream. The bullet didn't just come. Someone pulled the trigger. And Bridget, you are gone, and gone forever.
A case of shattered dreams prematurely. Now I want you to ask you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. I know, and we don't support people who demonstrate. They go there under the guise of demonstration, then they invade people's property, even though I still believe that the government has got something to do with the vandalism of properties, because we've seen videos of police breaking into some supermarkets. But help me understand this, maybe I don't. Just like a child, help me understand. How do you kill someone in a police custody? Because I understand that the first lady who died in a police cell, they took too long. They beat him and maybe they detained her there instead of taking her to the hospital. First of all, this is a lady, and I don't think the lady poses any danger to the police. If anything, the person is also in your custody, helpless. How do you beat a lady? Alikuwa amefanya nini ndio apigwe to that extent? What did a 12-year-old child got to do with the maandamanos that were taking place in Sabasaba? Does she even know what Sabasaba is? Now it's coming out that a DCI officer has lost a child, a chief has lost a child. They don't want him to speak. This is the regime that many of us are telling us that we should give a second term. And when such things happen, instead of addressing the situation, somebody is asking us to go back and find out what Uhuru and Kibaki did. And some are saying every regime must shed blood. Surely, can we allow these kind of atrocities to take place just because Uhuru did or Kibaki did it? Those who are there in the social media might have criticized. But surely, you tell a Gen Z today that it is good to kill them because the previous regimes also killed them. How do you tell a Gen Z today that Kenyatta killed them in Kisumu? I don't know, some people in Kisumu, and therefore it is good for others to be killed today because, and then Ruto feels very strongly that the reason why he is unwanted is because he is a Kalenjin. And this is the reason I'm telling you that when the story is told, victims will come out, like this chief who cannot talk now, cannot stand with the people. If at all the ICC will come out and evidences are being collected, such people will come out. There are people who are afraid. And I want to complete by saying this. As a police officer, as a civil servant, please understand that all lives matter. I think that DCI officer now feels the pain of what perhaps I don't know him, but if he's been part of the very squad that is being claimed to be killing people, now he understands. If he's a good man that is just discharging his duties, he also feels the pain. A whole chief cannot imagine how his daughter was detained. I remember the former Attorney General JB Muturi said, kama haingekuwa my closeness with William Ruto, mtoto wangu angeenda. At least for him, he had, the influence and the privilege and advantage of calling William Ruto. You and I, and many who do not have access to any influential person in the country, that's how your child will go. That is how you will go. And we have a stubborn police. Do you know the reason why I feel that our police is stubborn and they don't care? Albert Ojwang dies and it rocks the whole country. I mean, less than a month and you still detain someone in a police cell and he dies. Surely, do you think these police officers really understand? Do they care? As this is happening, another police who shot that mask vendor has been charged, but they still move on. Why? We have a president who's the commander-in-chief telling them, shoot. Mtu akisha kuambia shoot, mguu anakuambia shoot, anakuambia ua. I have two things to say. In my very considered opinion, this is a one-term regime. Let us do everything and anything to do a one-term regime. We cannot live in a country where you can't breathe. We cannot. There are laws that govern what to do when you find people maybe rioting with weapons. There's a way you can deal with them. You can disarm them. But you cannot explain to me how you kill a 12-year-old girl. I was telling someone, ananiambia hata baby Pendo alikufa. Surely, we cannot continue butchering people. Let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. The UDA government killed people in Kisumu during demonstrations of Azimio. They were retrieved from their houses. What should we do? Should we enjoy when others are being killed to compensate for them, or we should look for justice? I fail to understand some of our leaders. Nimeongea na watu wengi wanasema hapana, hata sisi tuliwawa Kisumu. So how are we supposed to look for justice, or we rejoice when others? How, for example, how does a mother who lost a child in Kisumu benefits when another child is killed in Kiambu? Does that make her happy? It is justice that will help, not rejoicing when others are being killed. I pray that the UDA government is defeated in 2027. Number two, I have a feeling that William Ruto is inviting himself to The Hague. Surely, even if you didn't want to, the ICC will be here. This is just too much. I read somewhere that he signed the Marlboro Protocol or something, but here he is Zuia ICC. I felt it is very sad, and someone cannot try to justify why people are being killed, and you cannot tell us because the previous regimes have been doing it. No, it is wrong. Let us follow the law. That is why we have the Constitution. That is why we have our courts. The police is meant and trained to maintain law and order. Not unless you prove that the lady who died under the police custody was a threat to the police because they are allowed to defend themselves, to kill. Not unless you tell me that the 12-year-old, Bridget Jocki was a threat to the police during the operations. I don't know, but I really feel that this regime, the Inspector General and the police are inviting themselves to The Hague, or they are inviting the ICC officials to come to the country. It has been very sad. Very sad. I don't know what to think, but If this does not make you feel like we need to send this regime home, I just don't know what you are waiting for. I don't know what will move you. I don't know how much blood you want the regime to shed for you to feel that we need to change this regime. I don't know what you think, but for me, this is so sad.